North Korean leader Kim Jong Un furious over failed destroyer launch and is vowing to arrest those responsible. Old Rocket Man, he is not too happy. He tried to build a ship and it tipped over. It is a sad, sad thing for Kim Jong Un, but that is what happened in the north of Korea. North Korea is seeking to arrest those responsible for the failed launch of its second naval destroyer, as it denied the warship suffered major damage, a claim quickly met with outside skepticism. Now, if you haven't seen this photo yet, here it is. This is a photo of the ship laying on its side in the water. Actually, it appears as if part of it may not be in the water. So what they do when they launch these ships, I've seen a lot of these ships launched. I actually used to work on Navy warships. What they do is they have them dry docked initially. And when they launch them, they essentially dump the ships into the water from the side. It's like these mechanisms that slide down and it slides the ship into the water. And when the ship gets into the water, it'll tip wildly back and forth until eventually settling and just floating like a ship should float. Now, here, it appears as if the ship may have either tipped over or one end of these mechanisms didn't engage and only either the bow or the stern of the ship slid into the water, causing it to tip over. That's what it appears from here if I look at this. But it is covered in these tarps. They probably did this because it was an embarrassment and they didn't want all of the satellite imagery going out to show exactly how much of a failure this was. But if I were to look at this and make an assessment, I would say that's probably why. And these ships are heavy, so I feel like that does some pretty serious damage. A statement from North Korea on its handling of the botched launch came after leader Kim Jong Un expressed fury over the incident, and he said it was caused by criminal negligence. So, it's got to suck to be a worker over there because you make a mistake and it's over for you. I mean, you're facing rigged trials and you're going to the gulag, okay? So it's got to, I feel for these workers. I wonder if they did it on purpose. I can't imagine they did it on purpose. The main military committee said Friday that those responsible would be held accountable for their unpardonable criminal act. Satellite imagery on the site showed the vessel lying on its side and draped in blue covers, with parts of it submerged. North Korea says it will take about 10 days to repair the damage. Okay, as someone who has worked on ships before, I can tell you, unless there's a vast difference between how these skills translate between people in the United States and North Korea, unless they're like way better. And I could almost see that because, it's much more important to get a job done over there because your life could be on the line. But unless that difference is extremely vast from here to North Korea, that's going to take a lot longer than 10 days. When you have welding, metalwork, ship fitting, stuff like that, you got to cut, you've got to patch things. That would, I'm not exactly sure how long it would take, but 10 days seems like a very short time frame. It's possible, I guess. I just haven't seen exactly what the damage is, so I couldn't say, but it does seem unplausible. But outside observers question that time frame because damage to this ship appeared much worse than what North Korea claims. So you got to realize, in this picture, if you have one end of the ship sliding off into the water, this other end of the ship has got to be scraping and scratching onto these mechanisms, and that could cause deep gouges in the ship. And that's not to even mention the fact that if the ship is twisting and doing all these things that is not supposed to happen to a ship, because it's just kind of being wretched to one side, that could cause a lot of other issues, maybe to the piping that's inside the ship, to other various mechanisms inside the ship. So the extent of exactly the damage here could be pretty serious. You'd have to go through the entire ship to see exactly what happened. But here's what you know. How much damage was there to the ship? North Korea's media said Friday the severity of the damage to the 5,000-ton class destroyer was not serious, as it canceled an earlier assessment that the bottom of the hull had been left with holes. It said the hull on the starboard side was scratched and some seawater had flowed through the stern section. I wonder how it got in there. It said it needs a total of 10 days to pump out the seawater, set the ship upright, and fix the scratches. It's almost impossible to verify the assessment because of the extreme secretive nature of North Korea. And there's that photo that we just looked at. And here is a satellite photo of the vessel before being launched. So very interesting. It has a history of manipulating or covering up military-related setbacks, policy fiascos, and other mishaps, though it has periodically acknowledged some in recent years. Lee Il-woo, an expert with Korea Defense Network in South Korea, said the North Korean warship likely suffered much worse damage, including the flooding of its engine room located in the stern section and holes in the starboard. So the engine room typically is like almost, it's close to the center of the ship, down one level, and it spans like usually two, maybe three levels. So there's a possibility that there could be water flooding into the engine room. But he said North Korea could simply set the ship upright, paint it over, and claim the ship has been launched. But that repairs could take more than a year, as the replacement of an engine requires cutting the hull. Yeah, it's true. You have to cut out the side, typically, of the ship to replace the engine. But I don't know. I don't know if it would really flood the entire engine room the way it's laying, because it does seem like part of the ship is on the land. According to North Korean account, the destroyer was damaged when a transport cradle on the ship's stern detached early during a launch ceremony at the northeastern port of Chongjin on Wednesday. Moon Kun-sik, a Navy expert who teaches at Seoul's Hanyang University, said North Korean workers are probably not familiar with launching a 5,000-ton class warship, which is a few times heavier than its existing main Navy ships. And here's another photo. So yeah, it shows, that one side of the ship is still on land. Observers say North Korea tried to launch the destroyer sideways, a method that has never been used for warships, although it has previously employed it with big cargo and passenger ships. So I believe they've never used this method. I've seen this method used for warships. Compared with those non-military vessels, Lee said it would be more difficult to maintain balance with the destroyer because it's equipped with heavy weapon systems. He suspected North Korean scientists and officials likely did not factor that in. And this is how Kim reacted. Oh, Rocket Man. The damaged ship is assessed as the same class as North Korea's first destroyer, launched with great fanfare last month with a floating dry dock. It is North Korea's biggest and most advanced warship to date, and Kim called its construction a breakthrough in modernizing North Korea's naval forces. Subsequently, a failure to launch the second destroyer was an embarrassment for Kim. Poor Kim. Could you imagine? He was probably there watching the launch, and I can only imagine him. He probably blew his top completely. But by disclosing the failure both internally and externally, Kim could be trying to show his resolve in building greater naval forces and boosting discipline at home. He ordered officials to repair the warship before a ruling Workers' Party meeting in late June. The official Korean Central News Agency said Friday that a team of prosecutors and experts began steps to arrest and investigate those responsible as part of their full-scale investigation into the case. KCNA said that Hong Kil-ho, manager of Chongjin Shipyard, has been summoned for questioning. So this guy, he's in some trouble. Quote, no matter how good the state of the warship is, the fact that the accident is an unpardonable criminal act remains unchanged, and those responsible for it can never evade their responsibility for the crime. Even if it's an accident. It's like they have responsibility and they're going to the gulags. That sucks, man. Kim Dong-yub, a professor at the University of North Korean Studies in Seoul, said North Korea appears to be using the failed launch as a chance to strengthen the ruling party's control over science and technology sectors. Lee Chun-gyun, a honorary research fellow at South Korea Science and Technology Policy Institute, said that North Korea's handling of the damaged warship could have long-term consequences for its defense science sectors. Quote, if scientists are held severely accountable, I would say the future of North Korea's defense science doesn't look very bright. So I think what he's saying here is like, listen, if you're holding these people accountable for maybe a mistake or mistakes that could be made, you're probably going to have problems with this sector down the road, as it would be a sign that political responsibility is being prioritized over technical accountability. So that's what we have, guys. Rocket Man here, big mad over his warship here falling over. It's just so funny, man. Kim Jong Un, what a country. What a interesting country. But what do you guys think? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. Really appreciate it. But until then, I'll see you on the next one.